Welcome back to the channel, family. This is Trey getting in touch with you from Japan. Cathie Wood just dropped her newest episode of In the Know, and she addressed the question, are we in a bubble or not? You know, there's been a lot of volatility in the market. Stock price has been going crazy, and a lot of people are kind of like, dude, I've been buying the dip. I've been all in every single dip, and now I got no all in to all in on the dips. You know what I mean? So what's the deal going on? Like, are we going to see a lot more volatility? Are we going to see things keep going down? Cathie goes on to address a bunch of the different issues, including the 10-year treasury rates going up. A lot of people are saying, oh, the treasury rate's going up, so people are going to be shifting to bonds. So there's going to be this huge flood coming out of tech, which has been pretty hot over the last couple of years, and shifting back to value. And a lot of people are saying we're going to see basically like a huge shift back to value, and everything tech, everything innovation, everything ARK Invest is focused on is going to get trashed. Therefore, Cathie Wood and ARK are going to be in trouble. There's a lot of this kind of talk going on right now. So Cathie addresses a lot of those things. Let's check it out.
And just to address one other question, this bubble question. We are not in a bubble, although compliance would have me say I do not believe we are in a bubble, rightly, is because of how many questions we get about being in a bubble and how much fear there is that we're in a bubble. Is because the seeds of what we believe will happen during the next 5 years, so these 5 innovation platforms involving 14 technologies, the seeds for all of them were planted more than 20 years ago in the tech and telecom bubble, and even before that, so PC and the internet together. And then the internet, of course, the bubble caused a rush of capital into what they were actually the dream at the time. The dream was right. It was just 20 to 25 years too early. Amazon maybe being an exception, an important one, and showing the way. And so therefore, we're in the period of reality. The seeds are beginning to flourish. We are ready for prime time. That is what we truly believe. And so this notion of a bubble, I think, is born, once again, out of the benchmark sensitivity and backwards-looking nature of a lot of institutional investors out there. So the other thing I'll say about this is what they should be worried about is not our strategies or innovation-based strategies. They should be worried about their strategies because the other side of disruptive innovation is creative destruction. And when we're talking about the S&P 500, we think creative destruction is going to impact nearly 50% of the S&P 500. And that we measure in two ways, by looking at fixed assets out there that will become stranded. And there are hundreds of billions, if not trillions, of fixed assets out there that will be stranded. And of course, we also look at the market cap exposure in those groups.
So Cathie goes out there and basically trashes like half of the S&P 500. And she says basically the problem with what's going on right now is that a lot of people just look at the broad overall market and they see ups and downs and they say, oh, it's too high, a bubble is coming, therefore everything must go down. But what she's saying, she says, these seeds have been planted for the last 20 years. She also mentions this at other parts in the video, but basically what she says is that these seeds of all of these technologies, of all of these new different ways of doing things, including like crypto and including Tesla and automatic driving cars and like all this crazy stuff that you couldn't really wrap your mind around 20 years ago, it's all starting to come to fruition. And she goes on to talk about how so many funds and so many different companies have been spending so much of their time and energy trying to keep their scores, their grades, their results looking good each quarter, basically playing around with the balance sheets and stuff like that to make it look like, hey, this quarter was great. Hey, this quarter was great too. Hey, this quarter was great too. Here are some dividends, guys, that they haven't been able to actually spend money on innovating and R&D and figuring out how the world is going to change and how to keep up with that. And so she's saying a bunch of these companies are going to get trashed in the coming few years. And she goes on and says, yeah, our funds haven't had an amazing looking 2 weeks. She's going to go ahead and keep buying a bunch of these stocks that are going to be changing the world. And over the coming years, rather than seeing like, you know, we're in a bubble and now the tech or the innovation bubble is going to burst because of the interest rate change, she goes on to say, basically all these companies who failed to innovate, all these companies that have been giving all their money away in dividends, they're going to be the ones left out in the rain. And that's going to cause like a different kind of shock in the marketplace. So she says, yeah, it's not going to be super easy for us and ARK funds and innovation and like high tech stuff going forward. But once the fruit is born from these seeds that have been planted over the last 20 years, everything's going to change. So rather than having the mindset of like, you know, a 10-year cycle or an 8-year cycle or a 20-year cycle, she has the mindset of the old world is now coming to an end. Coming up soon, it will be the new world. And we're only invested in the new world stuff. And a lot of the old world people are going to try and trash us, going to try and make us look bad, going to try and make us look irreputable. But we're just buying everything they're selling for cheaper and cheaper, and it's going to start paying off in the coming years. That's her mindset, and I pretty much agree with that. You know, And I think we've seen similar disruptions happen throughout history. Obviously, printing press or the wheel or fire or things like that, whatever it is. We've seen that. But what she's saying is all of these different industries are about to be smashed in the face by technologies that are going to be influencing everything, including stuff like AI. We've been talking a lot about Palantir lately. We talk a lot about Tesla. So AI and genomics, like the way humans deal with disease, the way humans probably even are created is probably going to be changing in the coming years. And that tends to change industries. That will affect the entire health industry. That will affect everything. Humans will become higher performance, and therefore different standards are going to change and stuff like that. She talks a lot about energy. She talks a lot about robotics. And all of these things are about to cause, she didn't say this, but basically another industrial revolution where the entire game is going to be changed. And she says this huge portion, probably half of the S&P 500, are not prepared for that, and they're going to get wrecked. That's really exciting, And if you're staying educated and you're looking forward and you're willing to deal with a lot of the, drama going on in the marketplace right now, I think you will be rewarded. And I think actually being invested in companies that are trying to change the world trains us to be prepared for that world better as well, So I'm really excited about what she's saying, and I think inevitably there's going to be a lot of drama in the market. I did a little video recently talking about the silver scam, basically after GameStop started like flipping over the market and all hedge funds and all this stuff. All of a sudden there was this huge thing on media talking about silver. Everybody on Reddit's going crazy for silver. You should buy silver. And then you do the research and you figure out that some of the hedge funds that were shorting GameStop, hoping to just put it out of business and make a quick buck, that are getting screwed by Reddit now buying in really, really heavily, are all of a sudden trying to shift the focus. And they go to all their media friends and they say, hey, talk about silver. Then you look, sure enough, they have huge amounts of silver in their portfolio. And so I think there's going to be a media war for your attention and for your dollars as well. That's something we really need to stay on top of too, I think. So looking forward to hearing your comments, your thoughts on all of this. Do you think Cathie Wood's right, or do you think it's a little bit too naive? Do you think it's too early? I feel like in kind of like the next 10 years, by 2030, things are going to be very, very different. There will be jobs lost. There will be companies shutting down. What do you guys think about that? Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Love you guys, and have a great one.